Hey, my creative friends. Shannon from Shannon Studio. And I talk about creativity, a creative life. And I've been doing my videos at different times. But if you don't hear from me earlier in the day, then I will come at 8:30. So sometimes I get, sometimes I go someplace and I really like to do my video there. So I do that. But sometimes I don't go anywhere or do anything, so then I will usually bring it in at 8:30 my time, Swedish time, and I check the time zone. In the States it's different, obviously. Okay, so I was thinking about what I was. Sometimes things are hard to start because. It's like if it has to do with Layla, it's my feelings get a little bit on the surface, obviously, since she passed away. But something that happened when a couple days after she passed away. On Pinterest, I have another website, LDS Nest, and two of my daughters were involved, and Layla was one of them. And we would get, if we pinned something onto that, we would get an email notification that something was pinned to the board and that sort of thing. So a couple days or a day after she passed away, I was looking at my emails and I saw an email that Layla had pinned something. And it's kind of startled me at first, and then because she had passed away, and I was like, when did she do this? And I realized she had pinned this just about 5 hours before she ended up in the hospital, and she passed away 5 days later, but it was so 5 hours before she passed away. So I looked at what she had been posting, because there's just something, it's just for me, and I just wanted to connect with her. I kept wanting to have those moments with her still, to try to obviously keep those feelings, and so I wanted to know some of her last thoughts. What was she doing, and that sort of thing. So I looked it up, and it was the most interesting thing, because it was this manifesto from RachelMoulton.com. And it was, on Pinterest you can get those little quote things, and it has text, and it was a manifesto that she pinned. And when I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so Layla. This is so much her. And I really kind of, I don't know that Layla thought she was going to pass away. I don't know that. But if she had to leave a message, it was a great message and a reminder. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Dare to be unforgettable. The time to be bold is now. What lights you up? Do more of that. There's no one like you. There's no one like you. There's no one like you. You have a big, bold, bodacious idea inside of you. Unleash it now. View the world like an artist. Make great art. Amaze yourself. You are the platform. Authentic trumps fake every single time. Be your own deliciously irresistible self. Make it juicy. Procrastination is just another word for fear. Fame is not the goal. Doing work that matters on the big stage is. Step into the light. Celebrate every day. It's fuel for the spirit. Fear is a signal that you are alive. Respect it, but don't be ruled by it. Smash the status quo. You don't become a hero. You don't become a hero by being like everybody else. Light your flame. Passion rules. If you don't feel it, don't do it. Be ridiculously reliable for what matters most. Make it happen. Be unforgettable." And I was just holding those feelings in, because when I read that, after I realized when she pinned that, I was like, be unforgettable. Those are all things that she was, be unforgettable. And she left a legacy like that. I mean, if people who know her would describe her that way. And so manifestos to me are important. And a lot of people have them. A lot of people live by them. So at that time, I kind of, let that just sit with me for a while. But then later on, probably a couple years later, I wrote a creative manifesto about how I wanted, how I view creativity. And so we're going to talk about it. First off, a manifesto is a public declaration. It's not a mantra. It's not a motto. It's not a maxim. It's more than that. It's bigger than that. So it's more declaring, and to inspire other people and to be an invitation to other people. And there are all kinds of manifestos that I've been reading and that one right there, that's a terrific one by Rachel Moulton. So there's just a few tips that I was going to give so that you could write yours. I'm going to share that, and that's why I printed it at the beginning of the week. After I did the creative manifesto, I printed it large, poster size, put it in my studio at home. But then since we left, I didn't bring it with me. I figured I could just print it again. And when I was doing it, looking at it, I thought, you know what, this doesn't, this fits where I am now, but I feel like I'm transitioning. And it doesn't really take into account when when you're just starting out on expressing your creative self. And so I wrote 2 others, so it's like this little trio of manifestos. So I'll show them to you. Okay, so this was, just do this. Okay, so this was the first one. It says, make magic happen. Create, believe in what you do, and do it with love, great love. That inspires, that uplifts. It makes the impossible possible. And that makes all the difference. Dazzle those doubters and be brave. So that was, it was similar. I changed it a little bit, but it was similar to the very first one I did. And I just kind of feel like, to kind of just create, just get out there and do it. And the message to me is when you create something, do it with love, because it does make all the difference. And when you do something with love, it just really wows people. It does dazzle them. It does, because it's authentic and it's who you are. It's conviction. So that's, one of them. The other one is, and I'll have to tell you, I did these frames. So that's one of the frames up there. So I did these frames and they have mats on them. So last night I was doing I got some silver wrapping paper and I was doing the mats. I wanted to do the mats silver. So I'm putting on the glue stuff and doing it, and it's like I messed up. I did it 2 times, maybe 3. I lost track. But it was a mess. It was a total mess. I ended up having to throw the mat out because it was so bad. I mean, and that's just the process of when we create. Sometimes we hit it right on the head of the nail, and sometimes we just smack our thumb. It's just, so I just had to share that sometimes it's just a mess. Things turn out a mess. So I'm going to figure something else out. But right now I'm happy with the way they are. But okay, back to the manifestos. I'm going to read the one that is... like if you're just starting out. So I wrote, you were born creative. Believe it. It's your birthright. There's glitter in your soul. It may be hidden, but it can't stay invisible. Free it. Let it shimmer. Let it shine. That's your quest. Be bright. And then I have one for more of when you get to the stage of mentoring, when you get to the stage of feeling very strong and secure in your creativity, and you kind of it's now bigger, and it's you're moving outside of your own circle. So I think manifestos are important, and they're so inspirational, and it declares who you are and what you are. So I wanted to give a few tips to manifestos. And Zach Sumner said the word manifesto traces its roots to the Latin manifestum, which means clear or conspicuous. Like it's out there, conspicuous, it's out there. You don't hide a manifesto. It is like bold and out there. You're not afraid of what it says. And so let's see what else. And he also made mention that the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King and the Declaration of Independence are those kinds of things. And those moved and were transformative for people. So this is some tips. So first off, if you're going to write a manifesto, get in the mood. Read some others. There are tons. I have a list of like 20 manifestos from people, and they're all types, all kinds of different types. For writers, for politics, they're all types. So start reading some to kind of get you in the feel for it and see what strikes you, see what moves you, and then you can tailor yours and use that as a template. You can use your words or somebody else's words. It doesn't, you can use actually somebody else's manifesto until you get to where you feel comfortable. Because manifestos, that's the other thing, manifestos take time. You can write it in a day and write it in an hour, but then you need to let it sit and percolate a little bit and see if it really rings true and it brings all those feelings that you really believe to the surface. And so you might start out and give it a little time to sit there. It's almost like when you make a painting. The best thing for a painting is for you to do it and then let it sit there. And you can let it sit there for months, and then when you go back, then you see things that you couldn't see when you were right on top of it doing it. So then they call that fresh eyes. Looking at it, something with new eyes, fresh eyes. That's what you'll be doing with a manifesto when you let it sit a little bit. So that's the third tip, let it sit for a little while once you write it. And fourth is you want to feel it. You want to really have conviction. You don't want to force it. It has to come out naturally because it's who you really are. It's your personality, your likes, your dislikes, what you really think, what you really feel. 5, there's no right or wrong to it. That's the beauty of this. There's no right or wrong. You don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to argue with somebody over it. It is your view. It is you. You don't have to argue its existence. And it leaves you free to put whatever you want in it. Let's see. And I think, for me, it's the ideal. It's the how you see the world, how you wish it would be, how you would hope it to be, the aspiration of the perfect moment, the perfect life, the ideal. And sometimes we don't always meet it, but it's still what you believe. Let's see. It's kind of it's what you believe, the way you want to live. It takes time. I said that. And let's see. I think the last one is that it can sustain you. It can sustain you when you start to falter or lose faith or forget why you're doing what you're doing, or the things that you find important, where you're struggling, you get off course, then it's a declaration for you. I mean, you make it public, but how public do you have to make it? That's up to you too. I mean, mine sat in my wall in in my studio. This is the first time I think I'm saying it. I don't, so you're not ashamed for people to see it. You're not ashamed if somebody comes and sees it, that it's public. Now, so it can be for just you, even though it's your public declaration. So It reminds you. So that's why I had mine in my studio, so that I can look at it and think about how I feel, to remind me that being a creator and creating things is brought about, the best things you create are brought about by love. That's what I feel. And so that's what I put in my manifesto, one of them, and then that's what's sitting in my studio, so I can remind myself. So it will sustain you. And this is something when you're writing it. I loved this by Andre. I don't know how to say his last name. Muhle. Mule. He said, pay attention, and I love the visual that he puts this. Pay attention to the temperature of the text. I mean, I thought that was so beautifully put. Okay, so pay attention to the temperature of the text. It should never be lukewarm. And he's talking about writing a manifesto. It should never be lukewarm. That just, it's not a whisper. It's not a whisper of what you feel of your conviction. It's a declaration. Hi, Erica. It's a declaration of how you feel. It's not like, a whisper I'm going to tell you. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to hide the corner. It's something for you to be out there and to remind you and to remind others. Businesses have them. Organizations have them. You can have one. And so I have them for my creative life. And so I thought I would share them for you. And I was so excited to get them printed off for here and to have added those other two. And just a little side note, I'm really excited about this because this lettering I did myself. I went through the whole alphabet and created some new lettering. And so I am really thrilled. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. But I wanted to put in here. And I made the lettering because somebody does a font and I paid for the font so I could use it. But I only paid for the use of personal use. And to use it, I'd have to pay like $300. And I don't think it was bad he charged that much. I was just like, I couldn't pay that much. And I thought, I can do lettering. So I did. And then when I got my iPad, it was just like, bam, it just worked out great that it digitized. I could do it on there and digitize it. So I was really proud of myself for doing that little lettering stuff. So anyways, tip for the day, make a personal manifesto. It will help you to clarify what you think and what you feel and declare it to others. And it will help you in the long run. You can make it part of your daily routine where you do goals or you review things if you just read over your manifesto. That is the tip. And let's see. I think that's it. Tell me if you have a manifesto. That's what I was. Tell me if you have a manifesto. If there are some words you live by, and that you find important. If not, think about it. Think about doing your own. So, in the meantime, remember you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it. And I will see you later. And Erica, give that baby a squeeze. Well, I know the boys too, but Kinley Rose, I just have to, give her a squeeze. And in fact, I bought her a little birthday card today. But I digress. I will see you tomorrow.